Wait, do you hear that? Sounds like a F.E.A.R 2 review.
F.E.A.R 2 Project Origin starts out 15 minutes before the end of the first F.E.A.R, just before the huge nuclear explosion that completely and totally destroys the city. Of course, Alma's back this time, but instead of being the creepy little kid Samara lookalike, she's grown up, she's naked, she's pissed off, and she's taking a liking to you and spends the majority of the game wanting to be your sadistic playmate. Other than that, though, the story in F.E.A.R 2 is pretty much cliche and very forgettable. Basically, you are a special forces agent chasing after a scientist and shooting a lot of bad guys. Those bad guys include soldiers with big guns, mutants, the Walking Dead, not to be confused with zombies, ghosts, and yes, the invisible electric ninjas from the first game are back and are equally annoying, if not more annoying than they were in the first game. The AI for the enemies is also pretty good, as they're going to flip over cover and use it during the firefights just as you would. All of this shooting, though, is broken up by a couple of turret spots as well as a couple of spots in a mech, and I believe that the mechs could have completely been taken out of this game. They completely and totally take away from the horror element. The sequences kind of reminded me of the ones in Dark Sector, and once again, I wasn't a fan of them in Dark Sector either. I guess I'm just not a fan of mechs, whatever. But yeah, I wasn't really feeling the mechs. All the creepiness and scariness from the first game is pretty much missing from this one. Instead of being a horror-based FPS, I would consider F.E.A.R 2 to be more of just an FPS. There are a few areas where Alma will mess with your mind, or ghosts may pop up randomly, but other than that, you're not going to get too many scares from F.E.A.R 2, so don't go into it expecting to have a Resident Evil or Silent Hill. The graphics in the game pretty much look exactly like Condemned 2 Bloodshot. Like, the first thing I said when I popped the disc into my system was, wow, this looks a lot like Condemned 2. And if you look closely and pay attention, you'll even notice that some of the props have been used in both games. I remember a medical book in specific that I remember seeing in Condemned 2 is also in F.E.A.R 2. So yeah, that is not necessarily a bad thing though, because they are good looking graphics, and while the environments do look really good, they're also very cliche. I mean, you have your destroyed city, you have your subway, you have your industrial area. There is an elementary school, which I thought was, a nice little touch, but it has been done before. I actually think it was done in Condemned 2, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. The sound in the game is pretty good. It has some really good music and some, background effects. Once again, I think some of the sounds were taken from Condemned, but that could just be me. I don't know. The voice acting, while it is not terrible, it's not going to win any kind of acting awards anytime soon. It's pretty mediocre, pretty straight down the line. Overall, I would not say that I would pay $60 for this game. I would rent it, possibly buy it used at the most. Yeah, I'm going to say I was pretty disappointed with the game overall. As you can tell, I was really looking forward to it. Even ended up getting the guys at GameStop to give me a poster before I played the game, but kind of regretting that now, because I don't think I'm going to be buying it. As I said before, I rented it from GameFly, and I'm very glad that I rented it instead of dropping the $60 at the start.